Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening to us from, or whenever you're listening to us. Could also be good evening, I guess. Coming to you, as always, from the studios of Undefeated Media here in beautiful Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast. And I should say, maybe instead of beautiful Bergen County, New Jersey, we'll use a different adjective of roasting Bergen County, New Jersey. As we
roasting or roasty?
Roasting, as we are in the middle of a heat wave here. In the Northeast. So we are taping this show on Tuesday, June 29th. So anything hockey we talk about, which will be a bunch coming up, is always up to today's date. This is on the Spanish dial for those listening. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I think I got
I'm
this
excited
one right.
For this one.
36. Or is it?
Sí.
Yes? Got it.
36.
Very good.
I think that's the first one where you add the E's.
Yeah, you warned me last week.
Yes.
I forgot to check. So I did it on the fly. I guessed right. I had a 50-50 shot. This is episode 36 of the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast. Thanks, as always, for your support. You can send us questions at any time at mypbshow@gmail.com. That is, once again, because it'll come across your screen as, there you go, mypbshow@gmail.com. You can listen to us a variety of different ways, as always, and that is through Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes.
Yes.
And welcome to the show. You can pick your poison.
Yes.
Out of that.
No excuse not to get your MYPB fix.
Right. And now today starts, as we talked about last week, back to the weekly schedule.
Yes.
So if you are into the MYPB fix, you can get it a little bit more frequently now, as we will be back on every week, as promised. So that starts today.
Nice.
One of the other things that starts today, we talked about last week, is the kind of summer spotlight series of some small businesses, provided that technology works in our favor. And I
now you got to knock on wood. You can't say
but
that,
I say it
bro.
all the time.
Come on, dude.
So hopefully a little bit later in the program, we will have a really cool small business to talk about. And when I say that, I mean that. So you want to stay tuned for that. It'll be a business you probably have never even thought of. But when you see it, you're like, wow, I want to use them.
Nice.
And experience this business. So we'll talk about them a little bit later. So the Stanley Cup final started last night. But before we get into that, I think it's fair that we kind of recap the conference finals from last week, because they both ended up being good series. One of them was an excellent series. So let's start with the Vegas and Montreal recap from the semifinals last week. Montreal ended up winning the series in 6 games. They ended up winning on an overtime winner on, that was Thursday night, to send the series to its conclusion and moved Montreal to its first Stanley Cup final since 1993. Montreal has been a team this entire playoffs that has had their backs to the wall. Look, in the first series we've talked about with their hated rival Toronto, they were down 3-1 in the series, meaning that they'd lose one more game and they're on the golf course. In that game 5, they ended up in overtime. So one bad bounce, one puck in your net, your season's over. And here they are, still standing, emerging as one of the Stanley Cup finalists. If you're a Vegas Golden Knight fan, now, you know, Dougie Sticks, this is not my real job. This is not my full-time job. But in my full-time job, I have a client in Las Vegas. Yeah. He loves the Vegas Golden Knights, is obsessed with them.
Nice.
Here's a guy, he never was into hockey because it never was a thing in Vegas until a few years ago. This guy is obsessed. So we were talking last week, and I said, look, you've got a lot to be happy about. You've still got your core, you're coached well. Mm-hmm. You've got some decisions now to make in goal going forward with Robin Lerner or Marc-Andre Fleury. But you're going to be set up for a couple years. It's not like this was your last chance. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating because, look, I think a lot of people, and this is not meant to disrespect the Montreal Canadiens, didn't think the Montreal Canadiens had a chance in the world in this series and won. So if you're a Vegas fan, you're thinking, wow, I've got a really good chance of moving on to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they did not. So we give the Montreal Canadiens credit. Now, this other series is where I'm going to focus a little bit of time, and that is the series that was the Islanders and Tampa last week. This was an awesome series. Now, I'm full disclosure. I said it last week. I was intensely rooting for Tampa, not because I like Tampa, just because as a Ranger fan, you hate the Islanders, right? So this series now goes to 7 games, And on Friday night, they had Game 7 down in Tampa. Now, I don't need to ask you, Dougie Sticks, if you watched the game, because I already know the answer would be an astounding no. So,
Whoa.
Am I right?
Whoa. I mean, start to finish, not so much, but I did watch some of the game.
okay.
I
Then
watched
you know
some.
what? I stand corrected because I will take that as a win. If you watched,
Yeah,
part
I
of
know
the
what
game-
happened. I know what happened.
Okay, well, that's good. So, watching this game on Game 7, and this is no disrespect to the Islanders coming from a season ticket holder and a Ranger podcast person, Tampa was the better team. I mean, the Islanders couldn't really muster up a lot of shots really until the last 5 minutes of the game, and they had pulled their goalie with over 2 minutes left, and their goalie, Simeon Varlamov, played amazing in Game 7. But they pulled the goalie, and really that was really where their offensive chances were. Tampa was the better team. That's no disrespect again to the Islanders. But you saw in Game 7, and you also saw in Game 5 last Monday when Tampa won 8-0, that Tampa is probably a reason they are the defending Stanley Cup champions. It's not a fluke that they won the Stanley Cup literally 9 months ago with the way that the schedules worked out with coronavirus. So it leads us into a finals series, a matchup you probably wouldn't have thought would be the case, and that is the Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, they had Game 1 last night down in Tampa, and as I said, we're taping this on Tuesday, June 29th. Dougie Sticks, are you aware of anything that happened in Game 1?
Yes.
What happened?
You want me to give you the
Yeah.
lowdown?
Yeah, but look.
It was a 5-1 massacre.
There we go. So we don't want to read too much into Game 1s when there are 7-game series, right? We don't do that because if you look at the last series, Montreal lost Game 1 to Vegas and ended up winning 4 of the next 5 to win the series. So Montreal is by no means out of this series by any stretch of the imagination. But as I said a couple minutes ago, the Tampa Bay Lightning are the best team in the league. They're the best team in the league for a reason. Montreal and some of their young guys, like this rookie that they have now, Cole Caulfield, has had a great run. It's good. They need to win Game 2 now in Tampa because if you go back home down 2-0, can you hold serve and win 2 out in Montreal? You can, but it's not likely. You probably would at best split, and then you'd be down 3-1. If you're Montreal, you need to find a way to get Game 2. And at worst, if you are not going to get Game 2 and you're going to lose, you need to make it more competitive because you need something to build on. You cannot, under any circumstance, have what happened in Game 2 happen in Game 1, or we may all be looking at a very, very short Stanley Cup Finals, which for you would be heartbreaking because of how much you love hockey.
Yes, I mean you're knocking me today,
I'm
bro.
not knocking you. I'm just
here's my question to you, NHL expert.
Yes.
What do you think the body language was? I did see some highlights where the goalie had some good saves, some cross the crease
glove save,
glove saves and stuff. What do you think the body language was? Do you think that it was just they were getting more goals? Like, do you think they just gave up on that game? Like, what do you? Because sometimes the puck just hits the back of the net, but they were like both playing equally. Like, what's the deal?
No, Tampa was the better team, and Tampa was the better team right out of the get-go last night. If you watch the first period alone, right? So let's say you just watched the first period last night. Yeah. At the end of the period, it was 1-0 Tampa. You probably had a good feeling that Tampa was going to end up winning. Because they were controlling the pace and they were controlling the neutral zone. Montreal really had trouble all night getting stuff established in Tampa's net in their offensive zone. So they really struggled. That is why there are some concerns. Look, you can lose Game 1 and win series. It's not unprecedented at all. It just happened last series. But you've got to have stuff to build on. You take away, you lose Game 1. Hey, you know what? We did this right. There wasn't a lot there. Now the score 5-1, maybe that's not indicative of the game. Maybe that's a little bit more of a spread than there probably should have been. But look, Tampa was far and away the better team last night. And so I'd be a little bit concerned if I was Montreal. So like I said, you got to get Game 2. And if you don't get Game 2, you've got to get something that you have for building blocks as you go back home. Now, did you see obviously you and I have debated this for a while. that the national sport of Canada, you say it's lacrosse. I say it's hockey.
I'll bring it up if you want.
Although I'm sure you're right. I think you proved it. But Montreal is a hockey town, right? So the Stanley Cup final tickets, if you wanted to go to a game in Tampa, you could go on a secondary market site like StubHub and get in for like, $400. If you want to go to a game in Montreal, it's like over $4,000 a ticket. It's like shows you exactly why Canada loves their hockey, and especially now, you're never going to get more meaningful hockey than the Stanley Cup Finals. So we will see.
Do you think Tampa Bay has been here before more than Montreal has in the recent years? Do you think they were just used to this big moment and Montreal was just like deer in the headlights?
That's part of it. I would absolutely agree. A lot of Montreal's better scorers so far this playoff have been younger players, right? So you're right. This stage gets bigger in the Stanley Cup Finals. The lights get brighter. And you have to expect, look, if you're of a team of young people, I don't know that you adapt right away when the puck drops the first time you're on that stage. It takes some time. So I think that's part of it. And you're right. Tampa has these veterans, Kucherov, Stamkos, the list goes on. Tyler Johnson's been there a while. Ryan McDonough's been in plenty of big games that, they kind of just mold into the moment, if you will. Where for Montreal, it's going to take some time. But the problem is, if it's going to take time, it better not take a lot of time, or this series is going to be really quick.
True.
And now, like, I look at it and say to myself, you and I are doing these shows on Tuesday, as we said every week. Let's see, so next Monday would be game 4, unless it's a sweep, and I don't think it'll be a sweep. We could be talking at the end of hockey season by next week, which would not be ideal.
Wow.
We'd have to really get into that small business
real fast
spotlight series, because we don't have football to go into for weekly picks for another 7 weeks. By the way, and that is close. I don't know if you saw, training camps are scheduled to open in like 3 or 4 weeks.
With or without Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know where Aaron Rodgers will be. I don't know. Have you opened up, speaking of football, not to go off on a tangent here, or go off on a random thing.
We like tangents.
Has your fantasy football team started? Like, I got like the league info the other night, which I just found was early, but have you gotten your like league invite and all that stuff?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Maybe my friends don't like me anymore.
No, I don't think that's the case. How could anybody?
Maybe I just didn't get invited this year.
How could anybody not like you? No, I don't think most leagues really send their stuff out until August when it's draft season. But I did notice for us, I did see an email with it, but I didn't.
No, we do things last minute. It's like the night before. Oh shoot, we gotta log in.
So, would you take, speaking of football and bringing up Aaron Rodgers, let's say you had your draft today, and I know you don't. So between now and whenever your draft is, you're going to know a lot more info to make this decision. But would you take Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, knowing what's going on?
So like he's the best available right now. It's my pick kind of thing.
It's your pick. Let's say and I haven't looked at the rankings, and I think we are going to do we're going to have a fantasy football guest, not by the name Sheesby, a different one, in August. But let's say he was the 5th rated QB available, right? And you get to the 7th round, you don't have a quarterback, you're happy with your running backs, you're happy with your wide receivers, and the next best available quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
So you're saying like the list right now is like Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, and who's the other guy who broke his leg from San Francisco?
Oh, Garoppolo.
No, not Garoppolo. Who's the other guy? He's on the he broke his leg and he had the best comeback. He had the comeback season of the year or whatever. For the Redskins.
Oh, Alex Smith.
Yes. So those are my 4 choices.
Yes. Although Alex Smith officially retired, so I hope he's not a choice. Yes.
If he's the best option, you got to take him, because no matter where he goes, he's going to play. He's going to play.
Right. Just
where he goes, he's going to play. Like, Green Bay's not going to fix this with him and then bench him. He's going to play.
True. You know what? It'll be interesting to see. So, yeah, we will do some football next month, and maybe even sooner if the Stanley Cup Finals gets concluded quickly.
Well, last question about football. So let's take another direction. Aaron Rodgers is going to play. He's going to get put up board. Are you taking Dak Prescott if he's on the board?
I would.
Dak was my quarterback last year. He got hurt. He had great numbers.
He had great numbers. Look, whatever I do, we've talked about this. Whatever I do doesn't work out, so I might as well, have some fun and make some risky moves to see if they work.
The weekly picks we're good at. Our fantasies are just
when we, if you listen to us, we had a 17-week season. right? 17-week regular season. We made money because if you listen to our bets, 10 of them hit. We had 10 winning weeks and 7 losing weeks. So overall, you profited. Money. We'll bring back the weekly picks, but when we talk about fantasy, you may want to just, tune out for a minute. With the range, this was really weird, and it was a total screw up. MSG, which aired the press conference. So because we're in this coronavirus world, they didn't do a press conference where there's like, a banner and the coach is standing in front of the banner and there's the microphones and all the media in the room. They basically did it virtually. So you couldn't watch it. So what MSG Network did, which was smart, was they said, hey, tune in at 6:00 on MSG and we'll show it to you. So it had happened during the day, and then whatever the editing they do, they're not as good as the editors here at Undefeated Media. Whatever, they do, they put it on. So my son and I actually tuned in to watch because he was excited. And it says, like if you have Cablevision, it says what show is on what channel at a given time. It said MSG press conference, but it was like a Giant game from like 1994. So they completely botched it. But if you watch the press conference and when it finally aired or read the recap, either one, you will have seen that Gerard Gallant has really said the right things. He's going to let the kids play. That was a major knock for people, including myself, on David Quinn, is how is a guy like Alexis Lafreniere or Capo Caco going to develop if they're sitting on the bench and only playing, 8 minutes of ice time a game. So he's going to go with that. He's known for having a 200-foot system where he's playing all ends of the ice. Is he wants his team to be a hard-working team. So one of the tougher teams to play against, which has been missing in recent years from the Rangers.
Absolutely.
We've talked about on the show to go along with that point that the Rangers for a long time have not really had the toughness, the physicality levels that some other opponents in the league have had. And hopefully they will then turn around and make some moves in the offseason to build a more physical roster so that the incident that happened back in May with Tom Wilson cannot happen again because you have guys on your team that don't allow it to.
I like it.
You do.
I think they've been too fancy. Let's get that. Actually trying effort. Those are the things that I enjoy. Like
old time hockey, studio audience in old time hockey. That's a good time. I have a shirt actually.
This is old time hockey.
It's a Ranger shirt, and it says, I think I still have it. I'll wear it for a show that says old time hockey on it. But the Rangers, to your point, they don't play that style of hockey. The previous years, they just haven't.
Too fancy.
Right. It's a finesse game, if you will. It's offensive minded, although maybe the stats don't back it up. But they're not, they're not a team that's going to go after your best player and try and wear you down physically during a 60-minute hockey game. They're just not built like that.
Yeah, you can be fancy on offense, but like let's go after loose pucks. Let's rough people up a little bit.
There you go.
Let's try to win.
Look at you bringing back your coaching days.
Let's try to win.
So we got a question over, I don't remember if it was over the weekend or was the end of last week, about what should the Rangers do with Jack Eichel. Now, we've talked about a little bit. Jack Eichel is a former number 2 overall pick, great player. He's playing up in Buffalo. He actually coincidentally went to my alma mater, Boston University, stayed there as a freshman only, and in his freshman year in 2015 he won College Hockey Player of the Year. So think about that, folks. He won College Hockey Player of the Year as a freshman, right? Goes into the NHL, gets drafted 2nd overall by the Buffalo Sabres, has a bunch of good years, and is clearly not happy in Buffalo. I mean, he's not putting on a Buffalo jersey again. So he's going to be dealt at some point in the offseason. The danger here is that he's been injured. So this past year, he was out a while. Now, did they make a lot of the situation with him not being happy make the injury, quote unquote, worse? He's not playing because he's hurt, but really there were other issues. We don't know that, right? The Rangers need to be extraordinarily careful here. There was an article out yesterday in the New York Post that the general manager of the New York Rangers, Chris Drury, went out and has made some preliminary phone calls up to Buffalo to say, hey, what would a package look like that you would accept for Jack Eichel? Now, the author of the article, Larry Brooks, did say that, look, this may just be a due diligence, right? You can't read into it and say that they're definitely looking at it. But you've got whatever team actually trades for Jack Eichel, and someone is going to in the offseason because he's not playing again in Buffalo and he's too good to not be traded. So whatever team, whether it's the Rangers or Anaheim or the LA Kings, I've heard mentioned, trades for him. Columbus is really high on him, which if I'm Jack Eichel and I played in a Buffalo market and I wasn't happy there, what are you going to Columbus for? Right? I mean, it's not going to be much better. No offense. And but anyway, you've got to be really, really careful here with Jack Eichel. And if you're the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres here, you're going to try and get a king's ransom back for him. I give you credit for trying. That's your job, to bring back, as many guys as you can. Yeah. But you've got to be really careful, and you've got to do an enormous. The last thing any general manager in any sport wants to do is trade for what they think is a bona fide all-star, give up a lot of things, whether that be current players, prospects, draft picks, whatever, and then have the injury that has been nagging him become something that is impacting his level of play for the long term.
Is it worth it?
He's worth it. Any player is worth something at the right price, right?
Yes.
There's a certain level where you say, okay, if the Rangers got presented this offer, I would do it, right?
What is that offer for you?
For me, I'm not okay. So Alexis Lafreniere is not going anywhere. He's untouchable, right? Even though he didn't have the greatest year, I get it, but he's still young. You're not going to give him up. When I hear names like Capo Caco named in it, I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
I understand that the jury is still out. Capo Caco has been in the league only 2 years now. And look, they've been 2 very strange years. One of the seasons got cut off in the middle with Corona. The other one, now they're playing this modified division schedule. I'm not willing to give him up. Look, if you told me convince me, and this may surprise people, you may be able to convince me that Mika Zibanejad in a deal could go somewhere because his contract's up, not in the far out future. Someone like that is fine. I'm fine with giving up I'm fine with giving up draft picks. The Rangers have a history of just always screwing up their draft picks, right? So looking back to Hugh Eisman, Elias Anderson, who now is in LA, all these guys. So why you're gonna mess it up? I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is giving up these young players that could be part of the future of the core. I mean, obviously you would never trade Adam Fox. We know this, but there are certain players that I'm not, I don't know. I don't want to give up. Now, but a general manager at another team is not going to take that contract back. So the Rangers will make an offer, right? It's just you just can't give up too much. It doesn't sound like Gerard Gallant, and it was something I was actually reading here on my phone before we went on the air a little while ago. It doesn't sound like Gerard Gallant, the new coach, is really high on trying to get him. Now, it's not his decision, right? He's the coach. He's not the general manager. But some of the comments he made yesterday did not seem like he's going to sit here and really advise management, hey, we need Jack Eichel.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like the juice is worth the squeeze in this case.
That was a really good analogy.
Thank you.
Wow, the juice is worth the squeeze.
I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze.
Well, Mr. Wordsmith, I like that. That was actually really good, Dougie Sticks.
Thank you.
I may
use that.
I may borrow that. I'll have to give you credit there.
Thank you. But for real, everything that we're talking about with him, we don't even know how good he's going to play. He's injured. Like, yeah, he is a good player, but like we have players that potentially can be better.
Yes. So I think, again, the Rangers will sit here. They will make some formal offer at some point. They will try to obviously lowball and not have to give up a lot. Let's just hope that they don't do anything dumb. But the odds are, if I was going to guess, whatever team gets Jack Eichel, whether that be the Rangers, Columbus, Anaheim, LA, or some of these other teams that are mentioned, whoever is going to get him is going to give up a lot. There is no way. Now, you want to play leverage game? The longer you wait to make this deal, you get Buffalo into a corner, right? Buffalo wants to get rid of him today if they can. If I'm one of these other GMs right now trying to get him or inquiring about him, I'm going to sit here and wait and play my cards and wait till Buffalo has to move him. And Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, at his annual Stanley Cup press conference, said yesterday that he expects the next season to start between October 10th and October 15th, which really is only about a week behind where it normally would.
Mm-hmm.
So now, training camps are September, right? Buffalo has to move him by a guy who's not going to skate.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be done. If you're one of these other teams, you're best off waiting.
Yeah. Do you think the GMs are like talking like, yo, let's all not give it. Let's all get on board here and low ball.
No, I think they know.
Let's all hold out together.
I think they know what they're going to do. Now, I do think, and this is not a knock on Jeff Gordon, the ex-general manager of the Rangers, their new general manager, Chris Drury, I think is very, from what I've read, and he does carry this persona about him, that he's very methodical. Like, he checks everything. So I do have quiet confidence. I wouldn't say confidence, but a quiet confidence about him that he's not going to give up anything dumb. Like, Chris Drury is probably going to say to them, look, here's my best and final offer. Jack Eichel, you're a better team with Jack Eichel, but this team doesn't need him because you don't want to have to give up anything, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Juice ain't worth the squeeze. I like it, buddy. I like it. So, the other Ranger topic that came up in the email over the weekend was how good could you? I think the person wrote it something along the lines of, "Hey, what would you compare Adam Fox to?" Adam Fox, in his second year, is now nominated for the Norris Trophy, being the best defenseman in the league. He's up there in the final three. He's not going to win it, I don't think, which is fine. I mean, I don't really. Awards are not really what we're after. We're after Stanley Cups here, but it shows you how good he is that in his second year, his second full season with the Rangers, he's nominated for it, and he's young too. He's like 24, and his college days at Harvard.
Let's trade him for Jack.
No, see, he would be untouchable. So how good is Adam Fox? Someone had asked me over the weekend to try and give a comparison as to what he would be like, and I actually had some trouble thinking about this. Now, I wanted to go down the Brian Leetch approach and say that, hey, let's just compare him to a great Ranger defenseman, Brian Leetch. I had trouble doing that. I don't know, like I put in my head when I was growing up as a fan of the team, and I would watch number 2, Brian Leetch. He was a lefty and then the left side, and he had the most uncanny ability, if you remember and you ever watched Brian Leetch, that he could take the puck behind his net and literally take the puck himself into the other team's offensive zone. And people wouldn't stop him. I mean, it was amazing to watch. And I think maybe because I was younger at the time and I didn't know the game as well, I didn't appreciate him. That's not Adam Fox's game, right? Adam Fox is more of it's kind of the Harvard aspect, right? Like, he understands the game. He has got the puck on the point on the power play, and he passes to the right guy all the time. So I can't compare him to Brian Leetch. I just think they're two different players. I don't know. I was struggling to figure out what defenseman he reminds me of.
You got me.
Well, I know I got you, and I know I'm not.
It seems like they're like they have different. Like, Brian likes to be behind the cage more, and Adam likes to be in front.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to think about it. Like, he's not a Zdeno Chara, right? He's not a big guy. He's not really a Raymond Bourque either. I was trying to think of like really good defensemen. He's not a Scott Stevens where he's physical. He's not a Ken Danico because he gets points, and that's not a knock on Ken Danico. But I couldn't think of. I'm struggling to think of who I could compare him to defensively.
Got me.
Yeah. So. Hold on.
We got a studio audience member.
Scott Niedermayer. That's not a bad. That's actually a good. I like that. You know why? Because Scott Niedermayer played. And look, if Adam Fox, and this is not a knock on Scott Niedermayer, but Adam Fox, his ceiling right now, if he continues, he's going to be a better player than Scott Niedermayer. But if he ended up being Scott Niedermayer, there's nothing wrong with that either. Because Scott Niedermayer had a great career. And Scott Niedermayer also, not that I like to give love to Devil players, because it's not what I like to do. In fairness, never got the credit he should have had because he played with Danico and Stevens. He was really like the third best defenseman on the team. So he was never really under the spotlight, but he was great. And then he went to Anaheim when he was traded to play with his brother. What was the brother? Robbie, right? Robbie Niedermayer, I think. and was great out there. Scott Niedermayer is a good comparison. I still think he can be better than Scott Niedermayer, but if he caps out and he's the next Scott Niedermayer, the Rangers are in good shape. So we will see here going forward with that. So we will keep an eye on the Ranger stuff and the Stanley Cup final. So we are going to shift. As I said, we are going to spend some time in the summer since we are back to weekly schedules and we lose hockey a little bit. We are going to focus on some small businesses in the area. We do call the program Mind Your Puckin' Business for a reason. There is the business in the title. So we do like to highlight.
This is the puckin' business part.
Yes, this is the puckin' business part. So we're going to try to spend some time here in the summer months to fill the sport gap with featuring some small businesses here in the area. Particularly, I like to do it in like Bergen County where we tape from. Yeah. So we are going to focus today, and I think we have them up on the screen. Let's see here if we can bring them in. If not, if it's not work. Oh, we got them. Hello, Danielle and Tara. How are you guys?
Hi. Good morning.
They run a business called Curbside Confections, and as I mentioned before you guys were on, that when people hear about what you guys do today, it is such a cool idea. Like for me, when we talked about what businesses should talk about in the summer, this was literally the first thing I thought of. Now, I will put a disclaimer out and say I use them for my daughter's birthday party. And I don't know, do we have the picture to put up on the screen?
We do.
Hold on, we're going to put it up on the screen. So I had used them for my daughter's 10th birthday party. This was back in May. But as we put the picture up on the screen here, you can see what they do, and this is really cool, is a candy truck. Now, I'm not talking like just a couple of little pieces of candy. I mean like the craziest candy from
sold already
from your childhood, right? Is there. There's literally everything you can imagine. And what they do is they go to different events in this branded truck. And again, they are Curbside Confections. We will put up their Instagram handle. Yeah. So if you're following on camera today or you're watching us on YouTube on a repeat, you can always find them on their Instagram handle. And you also will put up their website as well. I believe we have locked and loaded, which is Curbside Confections, New Jersey. So welcome, guys. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. We talk about your business. So let me make sure I understand this right. You guys are best friends, right? Tara and Danielle. And Danielle, you were getting married, I believe it was, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah,
and was
2017.
Okay, 2017. And we're trying to think of a really cool favor for the wedding because, look, weddings, they do have a kind of – and my co-host over here is getting married.
Maybe we'll bring them over
in November. But when you go to a wedding, you do. I remember in that phase, you usually generally leave with one of the same 5 things. So you guys were trying to think of kind of an idea for the wedding, and this is really where this idea was born. Is that right?
Yes, Tara was in my wedding, and I wanted something different. And we went to dinner one night to wedding plan, and I said, I have a side business that you and I could totally do. And maybe one day we'll be able to get out of healthcare doing it. And Curbside Confections was born shortly thereafter. And now almost 5 years later, Tara and I do this full time.
Okay. Now, you guys certainly are full time because, I follow you on Instagram and literally every day you guys are at events. But people would think, and they're right, that, hey, you know what? It's good for a kid's birthday party, which it is. I used them, right? And we see you now at a bunch of like my kids' friends' birthday parties. But there's also, I see you guys at events that, like you think of and you're like, wow, that's a great idea. Like I've seen you guys at teacher appreciation stuff back in May. Like they would bring the candy truck to the school to thank the teachers, which I thought was awesome. I've seen them at graduation parties. I've even seen you guys at like employee appreciation things where companies kind of, I don't know if they surprise their employees and like go outside and go pick candy. But I've seen you guys there. I've seen you guys at bar mitzvahs. And the other thing, which I thought was really cool, the first time I saw you guys was at a birthday party for my son's friend. They, aside from candy, they will pick up stuff like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, a Dunkin' Donuts. And in the back of their truck is kind of whatever you would call it, like the heated components.
They're propane-powered ovens, so we can keep food hot and fresh for any event.
So not only did they show up with candy, they showed up with like McDonald's cheeseburgers and fries.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is the coolest. I think it's the coolest concept. And you guys added, so I was at an event with you guys about 2 months ago, a cotton candy truck. Is that new this year?
It is. It's a vintage 1972 old postal truck that we renovated and reconditioned to get it running smoothly and on the road. But it just does vintage cotton candy.
Okay. Now,
So like there's like an ice cream truck. This is a cotton candy truck.
this
Wow.
is, I mean, this is the
Wow.
most brilliant business idea. We will not feature a business as cool as this going forward, for sure.
We're
So
setting the bar real high right now.
we are. My son struggled at that party to pick the flavor of cotton candy he wanted. This was like literally a 5-minute dilemma where, I mean, they have all different kinds of candy. So what's your future plan? Just keep growing this here locally?
No. Right now we have a total of 5 trucks. We go all over the East Coast from Maryland to DC, as far north as Massachusetts. We do plan to franchise in 2022. And one of our next projects is we're going to open a full retail store, hopefully by Q1 of next year.
Very cool. Now, you guys also have, as dealing with it with a customer, because as I said, you were at my daughter's 10th birthday party literally 5 weeks ago. The customer service is phenomenal. Like, when I was trying to book, and again, I am not the most tech savvy guy, I'll throw that out there to begin with. And I don't know who was on the email that day. You probably know that. But like to get answers for stuff, I mean, they are so responsive, so helpful. And whoever was manning the truck, I forgot the woman's name. I know it wasn't one of you two. Could not have interacted better with the kids. Like it was actually like part of what made this stuff great, aside from the sugar that all the kids ate, was the fact that the employee was phenomenal with the children.
Awesome.
So,
do we have a name for the retail store? Is it going to be,
Oh, we're not letting
in-store confections?
We're thinking of some different names, but I don't think we've landed on one just yet. We have some ideas and things we've been tossing around for a few years, but we'll see what it is.
Nice.
Very cool. Now, yeah, the night so my daughter had a birthday party, in this COVID times, it's like we do it in our driveway, right? And we order pizzas, and then the candy truck showed up, and it was like chaos. Like my wife has a video on her phone of the kids running out of the backyard when you guys pulled up. It is literally the cutest thing ever. Like it was like screaming, you'd be deaf if you watch the video a lot. But so that night, the truck was leaving our house at like 8 o'clock, and they were going to, I want to say McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. And then they had a wedding till like 3 a.m. Now, if you go out of a wedding at 2 a.m., right, think of the mood you're normally in, and there's this candy truck. I mean, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Brilliance. Utter brilliance. So did you guys think, so if we go back to that dinner planning your wedding here back in 2017, did you ever think it would be as successful as it's gotten?
No, I mean, years have passed by. And we laugh and joke about that all the time. We used to go out every month and like talk about different business ideas. And I think, we love to hang out, and it was another way for us to spend time together, but also do something fun. And we figured, hey, it's nights and weekends. We can keep our healthcare career. And if one day it spirals into something bigger, amazing. But it wasn't until this year that we finally just put our healthcare careers to bed, and we're doing this full time. And honestly, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I would think it's got to be a rush. I mean, play on words with Sugar Rush, but you're always around at these events, right? You're just dealing with happiness, right? Like you guys show up, and whether it's at a school for teacher appreciation, if it's a kid's birthday party, if it's at a wedding after the wedding when the guests are walking out, like you're just dealing with happy people all the time, right?
It's great. Our clients have been wonderful. We've met so many friends along the way that we truly appreciate. So it's great being at my daughter's softball game and somebody comes up and is like, "You're Curbside Confections." And to hear that, it's just like super exciting. Or to celebrate in our clients. One client just had a baby. To know that we're at somebody's wedding and then we're at their child's first birthday party. It's just been a wonderful experience, and we are so appreciative of the clients that continue to follow us and support us and have us at all these milestones. We couldn't ask for anything sweeter.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. And so like at my daughter's party, I think 4 of the parents took your cards. That just referrals alone must be, I would think, is that a big driver to get into some of the business stuff for you and how you get a lot of clients, word of mouth?
The greatest compliment is when a client texts us or emails us and says, "I just referred you my friend so-and-so for their child's birthday party or a wedding." Referrals are truly, truly the greatest compliment and mean so much to us.
Yep. And I'm always a big advocate of online reviews. There is no company out there that has better online reviews than these guys. You need
Thanks.
Go look at their Google reviews.
Nice.
Service piece.
Nice.
What are you going to say, Doug?
I was gonna say, so it's great you guys started your thing. I want to the people who are somewhat timid or scared to start a business. How was it? You had full-time jobs, and then you made the jump. That's always the biggest,
Yeah.
struggles to making that jump. How was that for you?
A little scary at times.
Right?
Definitely a little scary. Like, are we really doing this? But I think you just have that day where you're like, okay, like I'm done. I cannot. We work, I don't know, 18 hours a day at some of the weekends, 7 days straight, just with how many events that we do. And the rubber starts to meet the road. So it was a scary thing, but I love that we did it.
Same.
Yeah,
And our team needed us. We have about 10 Candy Crew members now that work for us. So they are excited to see us working full time in the store, doing events full time alongside of them when they're stocking the truck. So it was the best decision we've made for ourselves and our families and our business.
That's awesome. Now, are you, because I've talked about this on the show, I know you said you had a daughter, right?
I have 4 kids.
Oh, you have 4 kids? Okay. So even better. Then you're even better equipped to answer this question. Being your own boss, do you find versus your healthcare career that you're around now more, like you're controlling your own schedule to be around their schedule?
I've never worked so hard in my life because it's my own business. But at the same time, it's great to have that flexibility that I need for my family. So to go to my daughter's softball game or my twin's birthday party yesterday, I can be there. So to have that ease and less stress of that, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I would think that is awesome. So last question, I'm going to put you both on the spot here. If you could only have one candy from if you showed up at an event today and your truck is there, what candy are each of you selecting? You can only pick one.
Charleston Chew.
Charleston Chew.
Wow.
Now, I thought it was cool. So when they were at my daughter's party, I'm not a huge candy guy because I'm not a big chocolate guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to love as a kid Airheads, but I loved only the orange. I was weird, right?
Yeah.
They had the orange Airheads, like
Wow.
separate. It was like literally my dream. It was awesome. So Charleston Chews for you, Airheads for me. What about for you, Dougie Sticks?
The sticks with the sugar and they change color.
Oh, the fun dip.
The fun dip.
Yeah,
Yes,
they had
the fun
that.
dip.
They had that too. I'm telling you, these guys have everything.
Sour peaches, gummy bears. I can go on.
Yeah. So congratulations on all the success. I see your cars. I actually just saw your truck on the road the other day driving.
Nice.
Must be in between events last weekend. Where in the town I live in. So you guys are everywhere. Again, you can check them out. CurbsideConfectionsNJ.com is one way.
Another one.
Okay. Yep.
There you go.
CurbsideConfectionsNJ.com is one way. You can check them out on Instagram, and I highly recommend you follow them on Instagram. Here's another reason why you should follow them. They post in their stories, like, pictures of the snapshots, like the one of my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it just brings happiness to watch this. It's just always people smiling in good moods. Like, it's just what the world needs right now.
Absolutely.
I think, especially after the last year we had. So you can look them up there. And it sounds like, thankfully, if you're listening to us in other parts of the country, maybe down the road, if their franchise plans go well, you can experience one of their events because they do a top-notch job. So thank you, Tara and Danielle, for joining us. We hope you guys can come back anytime. Talk to us. Come back in the future. We'll talk about the storefront. We'll promote that for you once that opens, and your franchise plans. Thanks for joining us.
Storefront Confections.
Yes.
Coming up.
See you guys. Take care. Thank you. So that is Tara and Danielle of Curbside Confections. I told you, really cool idea, right?
Absolutely. I can't wait for Storefront Confections.
You can. And you will get the little sugar that changes color.
Yes. Fun dip.
Fun dip. You will get that.
The stick is edible too.
Yes. And just remember, when you go, hook your boy up with an orange Airhead.
Absolutely. Now, were you the crazy psycho who would go like this with the Airhead and make it a square?
I never even heard of that. I just ate it.
Oh, yeah. So, and when we were kids, the kids would have the Airheads and they would grab it by one side of the plastic,
right,
and go like this for like a minute, and the Airhead would become like this little square. It'd be like, and you just pop in their mouth.
Really?
Wait, we're talking about the Airheads, the thin.
Yeah.
They would go like this.
You learn something new every day.
And then be bite size.
Undefeated Media.
Maybe
they should get the candy truck in Undefeated Media.
Absolutely. Well, I have an event. Maybe they can come to the event coming up July 21st.
They
can set up the truck right outside.
There you go.
There you go.
And you would have at your event, it's just total happiness. It puts everybody in a good mood.
Sugar tends to do that for people.
It does, particularly children. So thanks for tuning in. Again, next week, we may still have a Stanley Cup Finals going on. Provided it's not a sweep, we will have some hockey to recap and talk about, because I know you're, like I said, you'll be upset like I will once hockey
I
goes
love
away.
sports. I
Right.
want it to go as long
I
as
know.
possible. I want overtime games every game.
You
That's what
want
I like.
overtime. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that's part of what makes the Stanley Cup great. So thanks for tuning in. We thank Tara and Danielle from Curbside Confections. They are awesome. Check them out anytime. And we will go from there next week. Thanks for tuning in. And again, any questions you have?
There you go.
Oh, he was ready. Look at it. He's ready.
I'm ready to click the button.
He's ready to click the button. Any questions you have, and we thank you for sending them in last week, mypbshow.com, mypbshow@gmail.com. And thank you for the ones that sent in the questions that our studio audience bailed me out over here with the Scott Niedermeyer reference before, because that was a very good answer. So if anybody's paying attention, at least the studio audience.
Absolutely.
That's it for the show. Take care. We will talk to you next week with another, hopefully, small business spotlight with some hockey.